Hi, and welcome to another live class of my intermediate level English course, level B1. And this class today, in this class, I didn't announce the class, I literally announced the class 30 minutes ago. So it's very impromptu. Let's have a look, see if we've got anybody in the chat. Yeah, we've got Brenda Mancuello. Hi Brenda, how are you? Where are you from? Who else? Have we got anybody else? Can't see. Yuba Amazquita, Mario, Harold. Harold was the name of my grandfather. Harold from Costa Rica. Gustavo from Argentina, hi. Salim, Juan Montes, Russell, hi Russell. Jair from Colombia, hi Jair. So in today's, and Brenda from Argentina, hi. In today's class, we are going to look at the present perfect continuous. Let me just shift this, oh, not like that, sorry. I've got to move this out though, that's it, make it smaller, not too small, maybe about there, maybe that's about right, it's on the redo, and I better put it there, otherwise I'll be covering the text. So in today's class we're going to be looking at, hi Valeria from Peru and Nina from Costa Rica. In today's class we're going to be looking at the present perfect continuous tense. Let me just get this here. Present perfect continuous. In the last class, this is a new tense actually. We haven't seen this tense before. In the level A2, which was lower intermediate, we saw the present perfect, which is very similar. We saw the, hi Francis and Candida, sorry. We saw in the last class, we saw the present perfect simple, well, normally it's just called the present perfect, and we were comparing the present perfect to the past simple. And the present perfect we saw in also in level A2. But today we're going to be looking at this one, the present perfect continuous, and we'll be looking at the difference between the present perfect continuous and the present perfect, sometimes also known as the present perfect simple. But before we begin with that, let's have a look. How do you form this tense, the present perfect continuous? Well, first of all, here's an example of the present perfect continuous. We have been studying English. We have been studying English. And the first thing you can see here is that we need, first of all, we need the subject. Then we need the auxiliary have. Next, we need the word been, which is the past participle of the verb be, and finally we need the main verb with the ing, or what we call the present participle. We have been studying. This is the present perfect continuous. So the first thing before we continue, of course, we can always contract that. So in the real world, people are not going to say we have been studying English. They will say, what you will hear in the real world is we've been studying English. We've been studying English. So this is the structure. Underneath we can see the structure with the other subjects. So when the subject is I, you, we, they, we use the auxiliary have. We use the past participle of the verb be, which is been. And we use the present participle of the main verb. which is the verb with ing, the ing form of the verb. So we can say, I have been doing, you have been working, they have been running. Those are examples. When the subject is the third person singular, he, she, or it, we need to use has instead of have. So then we say, he has been doing, she has been working, it has been playing. For example, these are examples. To form the negative, we simply need to add the word not after the auxiliary have. Or if it's in the third person singular, we need to add the not after has. So then we would say, I have not been dancing, or you have not been playing. And in the third person singular, he has not been running. Now again, here and here, we're going to use contractions. So we already saw here, up here, I already put up there the contraction of have. Let's make that a different color so you can see the tense. Also here, obviously, you would also use the contraction. You can contract the have with anything. You can say, they've been working, for example. Present perfect continuous. This is what you would hear in the real world. They've been working. This is the present perfect continuous. And if it's the third person, what you would hear in the real world would be the contraction of the he would be like this. We saw this last class with the present perfect. It's the same contraction. He's been working. He's been working. So here we're using the contraction. And remember the difference, this contraction here, for example, if I say he's a teacher, this here, of course, is the verb be. This here is the verb be. This is something happened with my whiteboard now. It's not. Yeah, he is. This contraction here is because this is followed by a noun. If it's followed by a noun or an adjective, we know that it's is. But if we say, like we've got here, he's been teaching in the present perfect continuous, or even in the present perfect simple that we saw in the last class, he's taught English for a long time. So here we have the contractions here and here, and I've lost the contractions here and here are has. This is has. You can still see that, has. So don't get confused. If it's followed by let's erase that so you can get that right there, sorry. Here and here is has. If it's followed by the past participle, then here this is the past participle of be, been. He's been teaching. If the contraction is followed by the past participle, or here taught, which is the past participle of teach, then it's has. And if it's followed by a noun or an adjective, then it's is. So let's go back, let's return to the present perfect continuous. So here we have the contraction, he's been working, they've been working, he's been working, you've been working, I've been working. And what about the negative? What about the negative? I think I'll actually erase this now because it's getting in the way. Let's move that out the way. Get rid of that. Get rid of that so that I can type some more in here. The negative, of course, when we have the negative, we're going to contract this, the same as we did with the present perfect, and say haven't. And here we're going to say hasn't. This is what you're going to hear in the real world. In the real world, sorry. They haven't been playing, they haven't been dancing, or it hasn't been doing. Maybe you can't say it hasn't been doing. It hasn't been doing well recently. Yeah, I guess you could say that, yeah. Hasn't been. So here we got contractions. We've been studying, they've been working, they haven't been doing well, it hasn't been doing well. Finally, we have the question forms here and here. To form the question of this tense, basically we just need to, like always in English, put the auxiliary verb first, followed by the subject. Have you been running? Have you been playing? Has he been running? Has he been playing? We've been studying English. They've been working. He's been working. I haven't, or they haven't been dancing. She hasn't been dancing. Have you been playing? Has he been running? Very good. So this is the structure of the present perfect continuous. When do we use this tense? When do we use this tense? Here I have some examples, and on the next page I have some more examples. Let's have a look at these examples here first. You're sweating a lot. Sweating is when you're very hot and the liquid starts to come from your body. You're sweating a lot. Have you been running? Have you been running? I'm very tired. I've been working very hard all day. Another example of the present perfect continuous. Your English is much better. Have you been studying a lot? This here is should have a question mark, sorry. This is a yes or no question. And here we have examples of the short answers. Have you been studying a lot? Yes, I have. No, I haven't. So here what we're using the present perfect continuous for is something that's an activity that started in the past, continues until now, and may or may not continue into the future. That means it could stop now or it could continue. It doesn't matter. We can use this tense for an activity that started in the past and continued until now. In the first one, you're sweating a lot. You're wet now. This is in the present continuous. You're sweating a lot now. Have you been running? Have you been running? Here we're using this to say, have you been running recently? It's yes, recently. Started in the past and continued till now, or stopped very recently. The same here. I'm very tired. I've been working very hard all day. Something that I did today that started in the past, continued till now or recently. Your English is much better now. Have you been studying a lot in the past up until now? And maybe, hopefully, continue. Good. So let's go to the next page and look at some more examples. This is what I just told you basically. This is the basic rule for this tense. We can use the present perfect continuous to talk about an activity which started in the past and is still happening or has just finished. That's what we saw on the previous page. You're sweating a lot. Have you been running? Started in the past and it just finished. And this one here was the same. And the last one is not finished, because hopefully that is going to continue. So it could have finished recently, it could still be carrying on, or it could have finished in this moment. You can use this tense. There's always a relationship with now. It's like we saw with the present perfect simple. This is called the present perfect continuous. The key here is the present. That means there has to be some relationship with now. So here we got some more examples. We've got the rule here that I've just talked about, or that I just spoke about. We often use this tense with for and since, like we saw with the present perfect. Here are some more examples. Also use this tense with how long in questions. How long have you been studying English? And the answer, I've been studying English for 2 years. Or, I've been studying English since 2016. Remember, for and since, we saw in the last class, can be used with the present perfect that we saw in the previous class and we saw in level A2, or can be used with this tense, present perfect continuous. For plus a period of time, since plus a point in time, for 2 years, for 1 hour, for 2 weeks, since 2016, since I was a child, since the Ice Age. It doesn't matter how long. Another example, it's been raining for 2 hours and the roads are wet. This action was occurring for 2 hours. It may have stopped or it may not have stopped. If it stopped recently. It may have not stopped and it may continue. This tense doesn't really tell us if it has stopped or not. It's been raining for 2 hours and the roads are wet. This one here is in the present simple. The roads are wet now. This activity started in the past, continues till now, and here you have a result. Oh, sorry, yeah, I need to keep my eye on the chat. I always do that with this program because I forget to move these over here so that you can see them. Yeah. I don't read all. Yeah, I can't read it or I can't see it is what you should say. Sorry about that. I always forget to look at in a class, not the previous class, but the one before. My video was not actually being displayed for like 7 minutes. Yeah, it's very difficult sometimes because I'm like trying to concentrate and my monitor for seeing myself is like over there, so unless I pay attention I forget. So anyway, back to the present perfect continuous. Another example, my son has been playing on his Nintendo for a long time. So here we're not saying a specific time, but we're using for again with a period of time. A long time could be 2 hours maybe. Here I didn't use here in this one, previous one, I said I used the contraction. Here I used the contraction. Here I didn't use the contraction, but probably here also I would use the contraction. We can use the contraction with proper nouns. We don't only have to use the contraction with pronouns. So we could say here, my son's been playing on his Nintendo for a long time. Another one, I've been looking for my keys all day. We can use this tense with this expression all day, all week. So it means from now until, well, all day could be, I guess, in the past. Yesterday I was looking for my keys all day. Another time we might use this tense, this one's here, were like continuous activities that started in the past and continued till now. But another example, another way we can use this tense is for, we can use the present perfect continuous for actions that are repeated over a period of time. For example, I could say, I've been teaching English for 20 years. In this case, It's something that I started 20 years ago and I'm still doing it now, but obviously I haven't been doing it, I haven't been teaching English 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Obviously not. So it's a repeated action. I spent maybe 8 hours a day teaching English and 8 hours a day sleeping, or 6 hours a day sleeping and 6 hours a day doing other things. So it's a repeated action over a long period of time. Good. Let's move to the next slide. I don't know if anybody's got any questions, just put them in the chat. So in the previous class and in level 2, level A2, sorry, this is level B1, this is intermediate level. But if you followed my course, level A2 course, we saw in the level A2 course the, I was going to do this one first, sorry. We saw in level A1, we saw the present continuous. And here we're looking at the present, I need to move that again. I should check every time, sorry. Let's move that over there. The video's a bit, let me make the video a bit smaller because it's too big. First of all, let's look at I got a bit confused because I thought I was going to talk about this one, but I'm going to talk about this one first. Present continuous versus the present perfect continuous, first of all. Because we saw the present continuous in level A1, it's like beginner level. And we saw that the present continuous can be used for activities that are in progress now. For example, I could say, I'm speaking right now, or I could say, or somebody could say, I'm learning English. This one, you don't actually have to be learning English in the moment that you say it. I mean, right now you are learning English because you are in an English class. But you could also say it if you're with your friends, hey, what are you doing? Oh, I'm learning English at the moment, which means I started my English course and I haven't finished it. But you could also say something like, I've been learning English for 2 years. So these are very similar because this one here is like, I started in the past, it's an ongoing activity and it will go on in the future. This one, when you say this one, it means it emphasizes that it is going to continue in the future. And this one here, I've been learning English, for example, recently. I've been learning English recently. Means that it started in the past and it continues to now, and it may or may not continue in the future. So in a real world situation, there could be very little difference between saying, I've been learning English recently and I'm learning English at the moment. The real difference is that the first one, using the present perfect continuous, this one here, emphasizes that it's in the past, that it started in the past. Or here in this case, recently, or I've been learning English for 2 years, it emphasizes that it started 2 years ago. But these two in this situation are very similar. This one really means that it definitely will continue, and this one doesn't tell you if it's going to continue. So here, let's continue now. Something else, 2 other tenses that are very similar. I think I'll move that out the way now. Let's move that one out of the way, and let's look at this one here. So you can see that. Yeah, let's concentrate on this one here. Let's move that down there and that down there. So this is important because in the last class we saw the present perfect and today we're looking at the present perfect continuous. So these tenses are very similar, very similar. Here I've got 2 examples. two examples. I've been washing the car and now my clothes are wet. So in the first example, we see we are using the present perfect continuous, the present perfect continuous. Here we have the present perfect continuous. And the second example, I've washed the car and now it's clean. So this is the present perfect simple that we saw in level A2 and last week. What's the difference? Well, here I'm talking about the same activity, washing the car. But the difference is that the present perfect, I've put here simple, because another name for this is the present perfect simple. Simple is not normally added to the end, but just to differentiate them, I'm going to put that there. This is the present perfect simple. This one here, the one at the bottom, this one is the present perfect simple. And this one here is the present perfect continuous. So the difference is that the first one, the present perfect continuous, is focused on the activity, which may or may not be finished. I've been washing the car and now my clothes are wet. My clothes are wet because of this activity that started in the past and finished recently or finished now. And the other one is the present perfect simple is focused on the result. I've washed the car and now it's clean. That is the main difference between the present perfect simple and the present perfect continuous. When you use the present perfect simple, you are talking about the result. I've washed the car and now it's clean. And when you use the present perfect continuous, you are talking more about the activity, and maybe in this case the result of the activity, but here you're focused on the activity. Let's see if I've got some more examples of that. Here I've got some more examples to try and explain it a little bit clearer. Here we have present perfect versus present perfect continuous. Here's some more examples. What have you been doing since I last saw you? What have you been doing since I last saw you? A question in the present perfect continuous. And notice that I contract that. I'm not sure if you can actually write it like that. Maybe you can. But certainly when I speak, I say, what have you been doing since I last saw you? What have you been doing since I last saw you? So here you haven't seen that person for some time, and you see that person and you're asking about their activities. You're asking about their activities. But the other question is in the present perfect simple. What have you done with the money I gave you? Here I'm asking not about the activity. I'm asking you, where is the money now? Where the result? You did something with the money and the result is you don't have the money anymore. So I'm asking you about the result, not really about the activity. So they're very similar. Very similar. Again, here I say what of. That's the natural way of speaking for me. Sorry, that's the wrong symbol. What of? What have you done with the money I gave you? First one, present perfect continuous. Yeah, again, sorry, people can't see. I need to keep checking that monitor. Always forget, I need to put a note, I think, check the monitor on my computer. So the first one, what have you been doing? Present perfect continuous, focusing on the activity. What have you done? Present perfect simple, focused on the result. Have you been playing tennis? asking you if you've been doing this activity recently. Have you been playing tennis? Present perfect continuous. Have you been doing this activity recently? And here, have you ever played tennis? Asking you if you have in your life. Here we have, remember, the ever. Asking if you have ever played tennis in your life. Another question I could ask there would be maybe, how many times have you played tennis? How many times have you played tennis in your life? Again, I'll come to that in a minute actually, because I've got that down here. So have you been playing tennis? Asking you about an activity. Have you ever played tennis? Asking if you've done this thing in your life. Another example, my hands are dirty because I've been fixing the car. The reason my hands are dirty is because I performed this activity. I've been fixing the car. And here I've fixed the car and now it's okay. It's the same activity, but here I'm not talking about the activity, I'm talking about the result of that activity. The car is here now, it is okay, present simple. We also use how long we can use with the present perfect simple or the present perfect continuous, but how much or how many we can only use with the present perfect simple. So for example, how long have you been studying English? 1 year, 2 years. And here, so here we're asking about a period of time. How many English classes have you had? Here we're asking about the number of classes that you had. Or the English classes is a countable, or classes is a countable noun, so we use how many. In the other example, how much money have you spent today? Money is uncountable. So I was going to say something else. Yeah, one other thing maybe I should mention here is, I mean, it is possible to say too, I think it's possible, how long have you studied English for? Using the, how long have you studied English for? It's just about possible to say that. Sometimes there's so little difference between these two. You could use either, but I think when you have that situation, it's much better to use this one. I think it doesn't sound quite right. So how long have you studied English for? Yeah, I think maybe it's possible, but sometimes there's not too much difference. There are probably, maybe that's not a good example. Maybe another example could be, I've lived in Monterey for 16 years, or I've been living in Monterey for 16 years. In those examples, I think there's probably very little difference. You know, I could say, I've lived here for 16 years, or I've been living here for 16 years. So there we have two sentences. The first one is, I've lived here for 16 years, is in the present perfect simple. And the other one, I've been living here for 16 years, is in the present perfect continuous. And I think here in this situation you could use both, but I think most native speakers would prefer to use the continuous in these situations. One other thing, let's go back. Hi Jacqueline Osorio. Remember, like 3 or 4 classes ago, I don't remember now, in this course, we talked about stative verbs. Stative verbs were verbs that are states. Remember the stative verbs. Let's go to the next page. There's some more space there. So I'm not going to cover all the stative verbs now because I can put a link afterwards about the stative verbs. That was covered. But remember, we have dynamic verbs, which are things like actions, you know, like talk, run, swim, eat. These are all actions. And also remember that we saw stative verbs. Stative verbs are things like know, love, understand. So I had a whole class dedicated to that. And in that class I told you, you know, you cannot use these type of verbs, these stative verbs, in any continuous tense. In that class we talked mainly about the present continuous, but you cannot use them in the present continuous, you can't use them in the past continuous, you can't use them in the future continuous, and you can't use them in this one, the present perfect continuous. So you cannot say, it is incorrect to say, I've been understanding everything. I've been understanding everything in this class. That is incorrect because understand is a stative verb. This here is incorrect. So let's just make sure everybody understands that it is incorrect by doing that. And then let's make this is wrong. Do not say that. Do not say that. You can't say it. You have to say, I've understood. Understand is an irregular verb. Everything in this class. You have to put the stative verbs in the simple. With every continuous tense, there are 12 tenses in English. 6 of them are continuous tenses and 6 of them are simple tenses. So we have the present simple, the past simple, the future simple, the present perfect, the past perfect and the future perfect. Those are the simple tenses. And we have the present continuous, we have the past continuous, we have the future continuous, we have this one, present perfect continuous, past perfect continuous and future perfect continuous. These type of verbs you cannot use in any continuous tense. You have to use them in the simple tense. If you're a bit confused about that, return to class. I don't remember what class it was now. I think it was class 7 or 6 where I dealt with that. Let's move on to... So I think that's the end of the explanations. It's time to see if people understand. So I've got some questions here. Put these words into the present perfect continuous. So the first one. How long they live together. This is a question. Who can form this question? Who can form this question? In the present perfect continuous. Make the question in the present perfect continuous. Can somebody put that in the chat? If they don't, I'll do it myself. Has anybody got the answer? Anybody got the answer? No. Has everybody been paying attention? Maybe not. Where are all the people who normally answer these questions? How long they've been living together? Gonzalez, how long they've lived together? How long they have been living together? Well, I think Miana's got it correct. She spelt have wrong, but I think that's just a typo because she put... Yeah, oh no, she's not because she didn't put the... Yeah, Miana I think was correct apart from one letter, and Javier is correct. Yeah. How long, the question here is, how long have they been living together? Present perfect continuous. Number 2. This one is a statement, not a question. Who can give me the answer to number 2? Okay, anyone can give me the answer to number 2? Number 2. Number 2. Anybody put the answer in the chat to number 2? Nobody is coming up with the answer. So I've been studying English for 2 years. Yeah, Gonzalo. Thanks, Gonzalo. And he's very good because he used the contraction too. I've been studying English for 2 years. Good. And also very good because also he used for with a period of time. So remember, we need to use for with a period of time. Who can give me the answer to number 3? Can anybody give me the answer to number 3? Number 3. Number 3 is you read that book months. Who can give me the answer to number 3? You have been reading that book for 2 months, Gonzalo. Very good. And you could use the contraction there too. You've been reading that book for 2 months. Again, he's got the tense correct, and also for 2 months, for 2 years. Very good. Next one. Has anybody got the answer to the next one? Number 4. Number 4. Number 4. This one, number 4, is a question. A question. You wait a long time. 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 Has anybody got the answer? It's a question. Have you been reading that? But no, that's not a question. Number 3. We're on number 4. Sarah. Sarah, you have been waiting a long time. No. Yeah, Cavier's got the right answer. Remember, in the question, we need to put the auxiliary verb first. Have you been waiting a long time? Sarah put the statement. You've been waiting a long time is a statement. Here I wanted the question. Number 5. Number 5. Can anybody tell me number 5? It's another question. How long she lived there? It's another question. Can anybody tell me the answer to number 5? Anybody? I'm watching from Nicaragua. Hi, Michael. From Nicaragua. Who's got the answer to number 5? Number 5. Has anybody got the answer from to number 5? Number 5. How long have she been living there? One mistake, because it's a she. It's a she. How long has Jorge has got the has, she, but what's the next word? How long has she been living there? Sarah and Mirna have the right answer, and Miller also has the right answer. Oh, Miller's got the next answer, sorry. How long has she been living there? Number 6. Miller, she's been working here. Is missing one word. Actually, I missed that's number 7, actually. Number 6. Number 6 is a negative. I put this here as a negative. Yeah. Number 6 is a negative. Negative. Let's make that red. So, number 6. Who's got the answer to number 6? Negative. Who can give me the answer? Number 6. My internet has not been working for 2 hours. Very good, Gonzalo. My internet has not been working, for 2 hours. The only thing there is, of course, it's 100% correct, but it's much better to say here hasn't been working for 2 hours. And finally, number 7. Hi, Barbara. Number 7. Who's got the answer to number 7? I've got some more questions here that I will put on here. She hasn't working. Yeah, number 7 is not a negative. It's a statement. Number 7. She has not. It's yeah. Graciella's got the right answer. Only Graciela didn't use the contraction. Here we can use the contraction. She's been working here, and Sarah also has the correct answer. She's been working here since. Yeah. Now remember this last bit. Since. Remember since with a point in time. Very good. We saw earlier that we use for 2 years, for 2 months, since 2014. For a length of time, a period of time, and since for a point in time. Okay, we've got like 10 minutes left, so I have some more questions, but I didn't write them, so I've got them written down here. So here what we need to do is decide whether to use the present perfect simple or the present perfect continuous. So if I say, where have you been? So question, and then another question, or maybe the A could say, this could be A. I think I'll make it a little conversation. A says, where have you been? And B says, B's response is play tennis. Let's say play tennis. So this is the verb. Put the verb in the correct tense. Put the verb in the correct tense. What in B's answer to this question would be use the present perfect or the present perfect continuous. I'll help you with the first one. I'll give you a clue with the first one. The two possible answers here are, yeah, Viviana's already got the correct answer. A is asking about the activity, so we need to say, B would respond with, I've been playing tennis. I've been playing tennis. Okay, question number 2. Look. Somebody and here the verb is break that window. Well, here I guess it could be in either tense. But which one? There's one that is more likely, more probable than the other one. Look, somebody, and when we get the answer, I'll explain the difference. Look, somebody. Anybody got the answer? Has broken. Yeah, that is the correct answer, Javier. Has broken that window. Now here there are two possibilities, but this one is more likely. Why is this one more likely? Because the other alternative is to say, look, somebody is breaking that window. So what's the difference between saying look? When we say look, the first bit, it means I want you to look at something now. This is in the imperative, so I'm saying look now, look, look. And if I say this one, I say somebody has broken that window. It means somebody broke the window in the past, and now here is the result. The window is broken. Sorry, actually I put this one, the other alternative is somebody has, yeah, that isn't really possible actually. Somebody has been breaking that window. Yeah, no, we wouldn't say that. We wouldn't say that. Somebody has been breaking that window. The other one I just put was in the present continuous. If somebody has been breaking that window, it would mean like it's they spent some time breaking the window. And that doesn't happen, you know, because if you break a window, it just breaks. So that one had to be really in the present perfect simple. Number 3, you look tired. This one's a question. So here we'll just put this here. Work hard. Put this one in the present. It's a question. Let's put it up there. This is a question. Put it either in the present perfect. Have you been working hard, says Sarah? Yeah, it's a question about an activity. Have you been working hard? Very good. Number 4. Let's try this one. This one I put 2 in there. Read is the verb, that book, but, and the next verb is finish. In this one we've got 2 verbs. Finish it yet. Remember this word here, yet, we saw in the previous class, so that means that when we use yet, we can only use yet in negative. So this one here needs to be in the negative. I think this will be the last question today. This is a negative. So put them in the correct tense. Yeah, Graciela, I have been reading, and Sarah, I have been reading that book. Very good. This is that ongoing activity. I've been reading that book. It's an ongoing activity, but I have finished it yet. The last bit needs to be in the negative because yet we can only use with negatives. Yet we can only use with negatives. So the last one, put it in the negative. But he hadn't finished. Now, hadn't finished is the past perfect. That's another tense. Gonzalo says, have not finished it. Very good. But just one thing, we would put that in the haven't finished it yet. So, it's almost time to finish. Where have you been? Just to practice the pronunciation. Where have you been? I've been playing tennis. Look, somebody's broken. Okay, here too I could use the contraction. Somebody's broken that window. Number 3, you look tired. Have you been working hard? And number 4, I've been reading that book, but I haven't finished it yet. Maybe it'd be better to say here something else, because it doesn't sound quite right. I've been reading that book you gave me. I've been reading that book you gave me, but I haven't finished it yet. Okay, I think I'm going to finish. I don't have any more materials for today's class, so it's almost an hour. It's like 55 minutes. So thank you very much for watching today's class. Hope to see you in the next class. Goodbye.